All right. So we don't have a particular agenda today other than let's be in contact with one another and find out what everyone's working on or challenges or, you know, just chat. Chuck, do you have any challenges you want to
Oh,
share
yeah.
working on?
I don't know if I'm just getting old or something seems to have changed in the last couple of years when dealing with planners. They seem to be very young on residential projects, and they seem to have no idea how a building is built or what grandfathering is or anything else. And it just drives me crazy. My last one is a remodel up in San Mateo. And the girl was questioning the steps leading from the garage into the kitchen. Were they original to the house? Because they encroached in the current 18 by 18 open space for the garage, right?
Uh-huh.
So I explained to her this house was built in the 60s, right? And they didn't have those rules. And we're not going to push walls out to get 18 by 18 today.
Right.
Because these steps are in the way, right? And it took like 6 emails and her boss being involved to say, yeah, they probably were there originally, right? And then there's a washer and dryer in the garage that encroaches also. And it's like, this is a 1960s tract home, under 1,300 square feet. Where was the washer and dryer? And every single tract home in 1960 in the garage.
Exactly.
I said, all you got to do is look at the roof, a satellite view or a street view, and you can see that the vents in the garage are in the same location, right? Depending on the floor plan. So these people didn't all rearrange their garages to put these things in later, put the same vent pipe in the same location, right? And these people are just so stupid. I'm sorry. I mean, they probably have a college degree, but I just don't understand. So
they're just going down a checklist.
That's all they know is black and white checklist.
Right.
This girl required me, this house is on a corner. The girl required me before she would approve the plans to put a daylight plane on the side street elevation.
Oh.
So now we have proof that we're going to get daylight onto the sidewalk in the street, right? And I tried to explain to her and her boss like 3 times. It makes no sense. Well, there's this diagram in our guidelines, and it shows, from the front of the house, you have to have a daylight plane on both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't understand first principles of what they're doing.
Right. Right.
So have you been running into stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. I've been running into a lot of, I think a lot of it is that they've been trained without actually being supervised, right, over the pandemic. And I'm getting a lot of things where I'm just immediately jumping up to the supervisor because and usually I know the supervisor, I don't know this person, right? So
well,
I feel like I'm training some people. I felt like I was training them. So
didn't a chapter years ago do something where they were going out and meeting with planning departments?
Yes.
And making presentations?
Yes, it was called Architecture 101. The presentation still exists. And it's through the advocacy committee that can do these presentations. And prior to the pandemic, we had the city of Santa Clara ask for one. But the pandemic happened. And so it's up to the committee to, go back to, the municipalities and provide it. But we actually charge for it, so it's a course that we charge for. And yeah, the slides are all done and ready to go.
But does it get into how to read between the lines when you have these city guidelines that are black and white?
No, it's even more basic than that, because I mean, you know, you'll walk in and you'll talk to a planner who's pretty young and you're going, okay, so in this part, I'm going to have a shed roof and you can see the shed roof and they're going, oh, what's a shed roof? So that's more of what this educational component was about.
Well, this particular young lady asked me to send her pictures because she didn't think stucco and wood siding go together on the same house. So I walked through the neighborhood and counted all the houses one afternoon. And it was like every house in the development had wood at the front entry and on the garage, you know, and then stucco around the other side.
Yep.
Right? I said, like, this is the most common thing a tract home has, you know, especially here in California. Back east, it might be brick or stone on the front, right?
Yep.
And then stucco or vinyl siding in a lot of cases, depending on the dollar value of the property. But like, she didn't even know and was too lazy to go onto Google Maps and look at the neighborhood. Right?
That's crazy.
I mean,
it's just maybe life experience type of thing. Because I'm similar. I grew up in Sacramento, and I grew up in a tract house. All the houses I grew up around were wood in the front and stucco around the back. Like that's all I knew until I moved out of Sacramento. Like, you know.
Wow, you can. In fact, for me, it was like, wow, you can do something else. I mean, like I grew up in Sunnyvale, and the house I grew up in was board and batten on the front and stucco around the three sides.
Yeah, that's exactly how I grew up, and I was like, I didn't know there were other options.
Yeah, and brick along the garage portal, right?
Right, or wainscoting up to the front door, you know, with brick or something like that.
Yep.
But how can you live in this area and be in this profession and not have looked around to notice that every tract home built in the 50s and 60s was designed this way? I mean, are they just closing their eyes when they drive? You know,
there's a curiosity there that's lacking. I think, and to kind of be present and aware in any profession, especially this, like you have to be curious and you have to notice this. Like you said, people who are curious are driving with their eyes open all the time. Like the more you know, the more you start to see things, and you have to start with curiosity and wanting to see these things. Right. So maybe that's lacking. I mean, I see things just joining groups like this. I see things that I haven't seen before. That's why I talk to interior designers and architects and builders, because every time I show up at a job site, I learn something new or different that I didn't realize before that was there the whole time. So anyway.
Do you have a copy of that presentation, Jennifer?
I'm not sure. I think I know where it is, but I don't have it readily for me.
All right, maybe you could provide me with a contact.
Would you be interested in being in that committee and going and teaching? Because part of the reason it's not happening is that Fang Do was the leader on that, and Fang has been just overwhelmed, you know, and he's not available to jump in on that. And so then the rest of the committee, very typical of the committees in our chapter, there's like one person who's like the lead person who's really involved in it, and they're the ones who get other people to do stuff, right? So if that one person disappears, then sometimes the whole committee collapses upon itself if there isn't a new leader chosen. And that's exactly what happened with that one.
Yeah. No, I think it would be well worth, especially the CRAN group, being involved in something like this, just so that we can all sleep better and we don't have to go around choking people, you know?
It's funny.
Right.
I've just run into so many young people, you know, they seem to get the smaller residential projects, right? And they just have never touched anything in their lives. It has no clue. Most of them don't even know how to read drawings, it appears, right?
Yeah.
No life experience whatsoever.
Yeah. When I got out of college and I worked for a residential firm, I really felt like my boss was like John Wayne in the movie Hondo with the little kid where he picks him up by his shorts and throws him into the lake because he didn't know how to swim.
Yeah.
I mean, literally like my third day on the job, he rolls up a set of plans, shoves them under my arm and says, there's a problem at this construction site, this house. You go figure it out. I was sweating.
Yeah,
But I learned so much by that, right? I mean, and I'm not sure people are getting that experience, right?
no, and I don't know if planner programs, city planner type education. I went to Cal Poly Pomona for my master's, right? And I don't recall any planners being in any of those classes, but they certainly should be in architectural classes if they're going to go make decisions for architects, right?
Right. I almost never saw anybody at Cal Poly SLO. I almost never saw anybody in the plant, in that department. It was called regional and city planning.
Right.
Almost never saw anyone. My first quarter at Cal Poly, my roommate had that major. I never saw her. Anytime I saw her, she was partying. So I don't know what they did.
Yeah.
I never saw her study one minute.
That's another thing that maybe the AIA can reach out to universities and say, hey, look, here's some feedback. You need to have these planners go out and do some kind of internship where they're dealing with construction sites and, both residential and, major construction, and just get some hands-on experience. We had to go out as part of our structures classes every quarter and go visit some kind of major construction site and then do a report. What did they do? What looked right? What looked wrong?
I had to do that
had to do
too.
all different levels of projects and point out what structure was being involved in those things, right? And that's really what these planners need to do, is get out of the office and go look at a project rather than sitting there and looking at the guidelines and saying, no, that's not what the diagram says, right? And yeah, it just drives me crazy lately. But yeah, if you can get me some information on that, I would certainly relieve some of my stress going and talking to these people and trying to educate them a little bit. At least it would be some benefit to other people that follow.
Yeah. Sorry. And then I've noticed with the city of San Jose, for their building plan checkers, they seem to be only hiring structural engineers. So like, I actually get them missing a lot of code stuff, but like they're hard on the structural engineer about every little thing. And I'm like, well, it doesn't, it's just going into it. And the engineers are just pulling their hair out because they're like, dude, I designed this, I'm the one really who's liable on this. And you're trying to tell me, that I didn't use the right calculation.
There is a structural plan checker in Sunnyvale that is absolutely ridiculous. So when I did my house over, I had to go in multiple times with the structural engineer. He was a junior guy and didn't know how to communicate. But I had to sit down and arbitrate between, the engineer and the plan checker. And even the structural guy I use, he doesn't want to do work in Sunnyvale because of this guy, right? He's just run into him too many times and doesn't even want to deal with him.
Yeah. I think I know who that is. I don't remember his name, but I remember being in a meeting with him, and my engineer was in Japan. That's not where he normally lives, but like he decided to do a bunch, like 6 months in Asia, and just, go from one youth hostel to another. So I had to get him on the phone. He's halfway across the world trying to have the two of them talk to each other. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning for my poor engineer.
Yeah. I think the guy's name is Romeo or something like that.
Yeah, I
Something
think,
along that.
yes, that's him. Yes.
Oh,
And
yeah. You
he-
can't forget him.
he went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
Yeah.
So by the way, like if you get him, start by just saying you went to Cal Poly, and he tends to then like I waited till the end of the discussion to have the Cal Poly part. And Mike Dern told me, oh, every single time you have Romeo, make sure you say you went to Cal Poly, and he'll be easy on you.
Okay. All right. I'll tell my structural engineer.
Yeah.
So is everybody also running into long lead times to get anything plan checked? I mean, San Jose is ridiculous. I had a detached garage for the property. I had it done in December. The earliest I could submit, because I had structural calculations for it, was end of February. And it wasn't until the middle of April that I got it approved for a simple, 12 by 32 garage. It took that long. And, the city was complaining that, they've lost 50% of their staff. It seems like all the cities are complaining about that. San Mateo County the other day gave me that excuse also, that their plan checkers have lost 50% of them.
Yeah. I was just on the phone with someone from Los Altos, and although he was not complaining about losing staff, he was saying that his workload is much higher than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to get anything out, right?
Yeah, I live here in Sunnyvale on that border of Los Altos, right on the other side of the creek. And you go over there walking, and every block has a house that's being totally remodeled. So you can imagine what the workload is for the city.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, my phone's ringing off the hook. I mean, and I bet yours is too.
I've gotten 4, inquiries in the last week.
Yeah. I'm getting that many a day. I'm like, I think I need to hire an office manager just to manage the calls that are coming in, because more than 50%, probably more like 80% are like, no, I don't want to do that project. So yeah. So yeah. Who just came on?
Hi Jennifer, how are you? It's me, Lakshmi. So my camera is on, but I have to open my laptop right once. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, that's good.
I can't see you though.
I know. I'm just trying to hold on.
Oh, we lost her.
Gone.
I wonder where Phoebe and Judith are, because they said they were going to come. Maybe they were waiting and then got tired of waiting and didn't log on.
Just curious, while we're waiting, where are you seeing some of this inbound calls come from? Are these random people Googling? Are these referrals? Are these all of the above? Like, where do you folks see these inbound inquiries coming from? Are they Googling looking for architects? Are they seeing you on social media? What do you think?
For me,
mine are all referrals. I don't advertise. I don't look for work.
Nice.
Well, I'm in a different position. This is my semi-retirement. I went back to school at 50.
Wow.
To get my master's, right?
Wow.
So this is my semi-retirement, and it's turned into a full-time plus job.
Wow, that's awesome. So if I Google you, I'm not going to find you online. That's good. I hope to get there one day.
and then I'm the opposite. My SEO is on overdrive. So most of the people who contact me have found me somewhere on the internet. My uncle Googled me for the first time a couple months ago, and he said, and I quote, "You're all over the internet like a rash."
That's funny. Well, he could have said a lot worse. Well, the funny thing is, I actually found you too, Jennifer. Like, I actually joined one of the Facebook groups you're in because I'm like, wow, Jennifer's in here, the ADU group. I'm like, wow, she's all over. So I joined one of the groups that you were active in too. I was like, wow, you introduced me to even Facebook groups I haven't heard of. So I'm curious what you think of that group. It's interesting. It's a little bit downscaled than I thought, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. But yes, you are everywhere.
Yeah. So I'm actually a moderator on that How to ADU group.
Oh, really? Okay. It's an interesting bunch of folks.
And then the How to ADU group also created the SB9 Facebook group, for which I'm also one of the founding members on that as well. No, I like to go there because there's just a lot of bad advice.
Yes.
And unrealistic expectations. And I have removed myself from ever talking anything about cost in those, because when you actually give the realistic true cost of what things are constructing, these people who have never constructed an ADU before or never done any sort of construction project before say you're highway robbery, you're gouging, or whatever. Right. And it's like, you don't know the reality of the situation.
And then the trolls show up, the social media trolls. And it's like, I got into that for, it's like, why am I trying to save the world, educate the entire world, and the trolls and the people who will not be ever convinced of reality? And it's like, do I even want to invest? So I'm kind of a read-only guy right now. I rarely post on some of these forums and groups, but I love to read, to learn, and see what others are thinking. But yeah, the posting part, I have to hold myself back because it's an endless loop. The replies, and then they reply, and then you're up at 3 a.m. replying to all these people, and you know what I mean? And at the end of it, it's more about like me than actually, actually serving a value. So I have to limit myself. So hats off to you for just going.
Yeah, because I'm in there. I swear I'm deleting like 10 posts a day of like just stupid content.
I don't know how you do it. I don't have I don't have the patience. I'm a colleague of mine has a similar one for remodels, and he's all about it. And some of the stuff in there, like he's even wrote me in there as an expert, and I even have to hold back because, like, for case in point, like one lady was asking me about, because we do like home theater, high-end performance stuff, and she's asking me about like a karaoke system for her house that she wants to hook up. And like, I want to be helpful, but I give them like maybe 1 or 2 comments or replies, but then at some point I have to cut it off because I'm like, this is actually not in the scope of what I am adding value for. Like, I can't really tell you how to, like, have this party at your house with the karaoke system.
Right, exactly.
I'm not really equipped for that, so I have to hold myself back because they can get so far out of scope. It's just like, oh my god, this is not worth my time. But anyway, I do have one question though that's actually more work related. If you folks wouldn't mind helping me answer, I've already have an opinion, but I would like to get a second opinion. This kind of checks your box, Jennifer, of like what you're working on. Just maybe to confirm what I've already been told from another architect. So let me just share my screen real quick if you allow me. I promise to be quick.
Chris has to give you the permission.
Oh, really? Wow.
Is she still here?
I see her.
I see her twice.
Uh-oh.
Can I? Oh, maybe. Did you click on share screen?
I can share. Okay, let me just see if you can see this.
Oh yeah, we can.
Okay, so this is a dedicated home theater that we're in contract and design right now. So basically, what you're looking at is a floor plan and some audio analysis and some elevations and all that good stuff. So you can see it's going to be a dedicated room and a very large basement. They're actually tearing down a perfectly good house in Willow Glen. Don't ask me why. And they're digging the whole lot underground to basically create an underground floor.
Right.
And then they're going to build on top of that. So it's technically going to be 2 levels, but it's a 1-story if you're looking at the street. So, so the question is, I'm kind of giving you a preview of that, and then I'm going to go share my screen, which I'm very excited. I'll actually show you the renderings. I think pictures are probably worth a little bit more. So this is the renderings based on the elevations you just saw. So the challenge we're having as this is again a residence, obviously, is acoustical issues. So the main acoustical issues a homeowner and I are worried about is transmission with HVAC right through the vents. That's what we're trying to tackle. And it's very hard to find a designer MEP that wants to do a residence, like even a high-end residence. Like they want to do commercial. They don't, they don't want to get involved in HVAC planning. So the contractor, the GC, is trying to do some drawings, and they're horrible. So there's like, don't have a good HVAC plan for this. And I'm tasked with, because we're contracted to do the theater room, I have to make sure that the sound, which is going to be very loud, doesn't bleed through the rest of the house. And HVAC is not my forte, especially with noise transmission. So I've been told, hey, you're having a hard time finding a designer, MEP guy or gal to kind of really sit in a residence and plan this out appropriately. The GC is going to have to do it. So I guess basically my question is that really true? Does anybody have an MEP that they know that actually does residential work, even smaller residential work? Like, I don't know, this will be about 4,000 square foot probably when it's done, or a little bit more. And can I get their advice or even contract them to do a plan for this room that would meet the noise transmission requirements and also fit in with whatever they're doing with the rest of the house? The homeowner's like, hey, if we don't get a planner to design this, I'm just going to stick a mini split in the room and call it a day, right? So we don't have ducts running through the whole house. I think that's going to look really ugly in this room, because as you see in the renders, there's no mini split that would look nice anywhere in this render. So that's my question. Is that your experience as well when you're designing a house? Who does the HVAC planning? Do you ever see a designer come in and do that, the mechanical designer? Do you just leave it up to the GC? And is there any hope for me actually contracting with somebody to help here? That is my question.
So for small projects, I end up doing it myself, but when I feel it's a little complicated, I will hire an MEP consultant. But it's been a couple of years since we've done that. Last consultant I used on a couple of projects was ACIES Engineering, and they're in Santa Clara.
Let me say that again.
ACIES.
IES. Okay.
That's
a mouthful.
Yeah, I found their website. Let me put that in the chat box.
I appreciate that.
Also, Fernando, if you want to share your email in the chat, then I will reach out to some guys who I know, and then maybe I can connect you through email.
Oh, I'd love that. I appreciate that. Yeah, there's my email there.
Okay, I'm just going to copy it and stick it in, and then let me look at my email trail and see if I can find some contacts. At least, then you can take it from there.
Yeah, and I really appreciate it, because I'm trying to have the best product for the customer, but technically I'm not getting paid to go chase down MEP designer. So I've been calling and spending my hours trying to talk to people and convince people to come on this project as a consultant, but nobody's really interested because of it's a residence and it's a size and all that. So so that's kind of my challenge. I'm kind of sinking a lot of time in this. So any help that y'all could just pass referrals or somebody.
Jennifer, is that ACIES the same as NCON that we had before?
NCON went out of business.
Oh, I see. Okay, so then those are the people I spoke to too as well, Fernando. So that is one lead. Let me see if I can.
So who was our contact at NCON? Because the engineer at NCON ended up at ACES.
I have somebody I used to work with. VY is the person I spoke to. Y Trong. So you can probably reach out to Y. Let me check my email. Hold on one second. Let me just do it while we're at it.
Y works for ACES now.
Huh?
Y
works
when
for
NCON
ACES.
Closed, Vi went to ACES.
Okay, so then he is my point of reference. Is that the same one you're suggesting then?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Okay, so then we are in the same place.
I don't think ACES does as much residential. So like,
no harm in asking. So
if I work with someone, it's him.
Yeah, even I've worked with him. One second, let me check.
Is that like VIE?
No, just VY. I know it's just kind of
VY.
I had a girl called Laura, but she quit from NCON, so I don't know where she went. This is
helpful.
A while back. Yeah, Laura. Let me see if I can ask Laura if she can refer us to wherever she went. But I had her NCON email, so I'm not sure how I'm going to reach her. But let me try. If I find something, Fernando, I'll copy you on an email.
I would love that. Thanks for even trying.
Of course,
I think
anytime.
That's great. And then Jennifer, back to you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just noticed that NCON still has a listing on Google.
So I use the same HVAC contractor on all my projects, Sandium. They're out of San Jose, but the person I deal with is Nick Moricati, and he designs all my systems for me. He's not a MEP, but he's a contractor. But he does $1 million installs, HVAC installs
Right.
in high-end homes. But he does all my projects, no matter
That's
how
awesome.
small they are.
Could you mind dropping that in the chat as well, so I have the correct spelling, Chuck, please?
How do I do that? Chat.
So Jenna, I was just curious, if this was your design, if you were doing this house, is this something that you would, like you said, sometimes you draw it yourself, would you, or would you just say, would you try to get somebody? Like, what's your line in the sand of complication, I guess, where you're like, this is pretty straightforward versus I want some advice from somebody?
Yeah, if it gets over 3,000 square feet, I'm gonna want to hire somebody. And
Okay.
and also if it's something like you're gonna do the basement in that, that would be someone that, even if it was much smaller, I would hire somebody. So for example, for the plans I pulled out to see who was on there, it was a 925 square foot ADU over an existing garage. And they wanted some of the garage to be a conditioned space as well, kind of a gym space in the garage. And so I just decided with that one, okay, I need help with this because the ducting is going to be really important, and I don't want to draw out a ducting plan. So, but
Okay.
in general, my understanding of something like a room like that, if you're trying to mitigate the sound issue, it's insulation and dampeners on the ducting that you're going to want.
Yeah, that's kind of what I recommended when we started the project. I said, well, we could just damper it, because this is before I thought we would need to hire a consultant to do this because it's so small. But I was like, well, can't we just damper it? Because that's what I would do in my house. But the owner was like, well, what happens when, oh my goodness, I should stop watching the stock market. He's like, well, what happens when the damper's open? And I was like, the world's coming to an end. What happens when, when the forced air is coming through and that damper is open, that sound is going to get right out. So it's like, yeah, the dampers would be great as long as, it's off, it's shut. But if we actually want to have the conditioning in the room with the damper open, the noise is going to bleed right through. So he shot me down on that. I don't even know how it would work, but
Why wouldn't you just use a cassette in the ceiling?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
a what? A what? I'm sorry.
A cassette.
A heat pump
A mini
cassette.
split cassette. Mini splits can be wall mounted. They can be ceiling cassettes.
Yep.
Yeah.
They can be fan coils that are hidden somewhere, and then duct work on them. But
So he did want the mini split. I haven't looked at the cassette because of all the stuff that may be in that ceiling in terms of speakers. Like that speaker is going to be pretty full. So we haven't looked at that, but the mini split was more of an aesthetic thing. To have something like very minimal that you wouldn't really even notice in the room is the challenge. The homeowner is like, yeah, I don't really care, but we're trying to kind of like match his aesthetic because we think he will care once he sees the room. But if there are options where they're like invisible, I'd love to learn about that.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you painted the ceiling out dark. So if you had a 24 by 24 cassette in the center up there, and you painted it out to match the ceiling, nobody's going to see it.
Yep.
And that 24 by 24 is all you need. I mean, you only need 9 kBTUs for a room that size.
I see. So just paint paint the grill or maybe even hide the grill behind an acoustic panel. I don't know if that would work, but
It might not work as well having it behind like just a piece of cloth, but
yeah.
you can easily integrate it. Now, I mean, if you're building all new, you have the chance to do whatever you want.
Right.
They also make units that mount on the wall that you could hide in the back somewhere into maybe some cabinetry or something like that.
Yep.
It kind of blends in with the cabinetry in the back of the place.
Right.
But, you're not going to be using this room all the time, so why heat and cool it all the time?
Right.
True. Yeah, keep it
Right.
maybe even a separate system. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And maybe with the cassette, the return is in there as well, so I don't have to have something separate for the return.
Absolutely. It's all
Okay.
built into one unit.
Okay,
Yep.
awesome. All right, well, you know what? Sold.
This is the guy
I
that
just
talked
put in
to
a
me.
link for Mitsubishi's ceiling cassettes,
Okay.
because they come in different depths and different sizes. And they also have a ceiling mounted one that hangs down just a little from the ceiling. Again, like Chuck was saying, cabinetry or, whatever, you could hide these things.
It's the only way to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I use them almost exclusively in all my projects is a mini split system.
Okay.
Yep.
If I'm doing multiple rooms, it's a fan coil in the attic or somewhere in the garage with ductwork. If it's an individual room, like I have one that's going to have this, 15-foot long glass door facing west. So we put a ceiling cassette in that kitchen as a standalone because that's going to be the hottest spot in the whole house, right? Between the glass and cooking.
Yeah.
This is a big 6-burner range, all that stuff. So it was like, well, we need to isolate that room from the rest of the house because it's going to be the worst case, right?
Yep.
That way they can just control it separately. But my
And
house, I have 7 mini splits in my house.
7?
Yeah, because my house it was added on to several times before I bought it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing is very spread out. So now I have a mini split in each bedroom and each living space.
Wow.
I only turn them on when I'm in the rooms.
Huh.
So it's very economical. If you're not in a couple bedrooms, for days at a time or weeks at a time, why heat and cool them? Especially since I have my house super insulated.
Okay.
The temperature varies very little, night and day. So I don't really need that much heating and cooling. So I just do it on a room by room basis.
That's awesome. No, I think this would work perfectly. Thank you for the education. I can act like I know what I'm talking about a little bit. I have a meeting with them actually tonight, the big unveiling of the rendering. You have seen the renderings before the homeowner, so you guys are on like the pre-list now, I guess. But no, thank you for that. That is way more than I need. Even got some. I don't think I'll need the MEP designers maybe, but it's nice to make contact because this stuff kind of comes up on a lot of different projects, and I don't have an expert to go to. So thanks for all the details. It really helps.
But Nick does all my calculations and stuff. I mean, he doesn't do them formally, but he's the kind of guy that knows how to do all this stuff. He'll pull out his iPad and start doing calculations for CFM flow in each room and yada, yada, yada. And yeah.
Awesome.
Like I said, he's done $1 million installs in large homes. So
It's awesome.
he knows what he's doing.
It's good to get that contact. I really appreciate that. It's nice to know who to call because the calcs that I saw the GC do, I'm like, this doesn't. I'm not an HVAC person. I looked at the drawing. I'm like, this does not look right at all. So I was like, oh, this is going to be a challenge. So anyway, I can pass on his information if they want to hire to do the entire house, honestly, because I think they need help for the rest of the house, which is not my responsibility. But I could see the contractors having some challenges there, in my opinion. But anyway, so that is it for me. Thanks all for that. That's super helpful.
Is there an architect on this project?
So
this or not?
That's a really good question. So there is, obviously, because it's such a large project, but they have been keeping it for whatever reason very close to the vest. I know the GC, but I have yet to find out who the architect is, and I've been trying to send me the original plan so I can see the bar with who the architect is, but I still haven't been able to see who has drawn the plans. I know the GC, I've seen elevations, but I don't know who actually designed this house, and I'm starting to wonder because it's a humongous project, and I'm like, I really want to know who did this.
How are you designing when you don't have the original drawing?
So exactly. So I have the floor plans, and basically the floor plans have the dimensions of the basement area where the theater's going to go. And we have been
title block. No title block on the drawing.
I almost think they're hiding it on purpose because maybe they're embarrassed of who they have. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm just gonna boldface ask them who is the architect, because one of the challenges we're having is what the roof is going to be, and we're doing all these calculations for the acoustics and the sound reflections based on the height of the ceiling, and they still don't know how tall this room is going to be. So I'm like, you guys are going to pay us more later when we have to recalc this all out. You know that, right? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, okay. So at one point I'm just going to boldface ask them, could you just tell me who the architect is? I don't know why you guys are keeping it secret, but
Yeah.
they send me little snippets and they print out certain pages for me to see when I'm at the house. And I'm like, I don't know what this secrecy is. I just got their interior designer out of them, which is a plus for me, but yeah, it's trickling out. This is good. You know how this goes. These things are years long. So I figured I'm going to run it's a marathon. I figure I would just run the marathon and get that in due time, but it's coming. It's weird.
Yeah, interesting. Because I mean, for a big house, like I said, typically the architect's taking care of that, whether they're hiring the MEP's consultant or doing it in-house. So
That's why it's freaked me out, because it's a very large project. And when he showed me the plans, I said, well, who drew this? Like, because this doesn't even look like anybody. Like like a child drew the HVAC. And he says, oh, the project manager laid this out to give us an idea of like what it's going to be with the heat pumps. And I was like, like, I literally sent him a blog post of what a mechanical drawing actually looks like. And then basically it felt like to me the GC kind of threw up their hands and was tired of like going back and forth to homeowners like, hey, here's what we think we're going to do. And you guys can, if you don't like it, you guys can go hire a consultant to do it. So that's how I got involved. I'm like, well, I'll see, because I do have a vested interest because of the theater room. I want to make sure like we're covered. But yeah, it's that line of how much to get involved and how much not to get involved, because I'm just, we're just doing this portion. You want to be helpful, but not too helpful.
It's funny, sometimes it can be pushed by the homeowner too, because like just while we were in the background, I was emailing a client or who was texting me like, do we really need to have a survey? That's extra money, and I'm like sitting here going, okay, well, you can spend the money on the survey now and provide that information to me. I'm not accurate without a survey. And oh, by the way, if, for example, the foundation gets put in the wrong place, you get to tear it all up. Don't you think that's going to be more expensive than hiring the survey? But yeah, I mean, so I get those things a lot that clients are like, do we really need to hire this person? Do we really need to hire that person? It's like,
Yep. And that's what I actually don't want to discover. I think it'll reveal itself in time. But like you said, yes, there maybe it's the homeowner, maybe it's the wife, maybe it's the husband, maybe there's a situation, who knows what the actual real story is. I don't want to investigate too much, because who knows what I'll uncover. But yes, sometimes it is driven by forces that you don't see until you see it. So I didn't want to pry that open to kind of lose my focus and scope. But it'll reveal itself pretty soon, I'm sure, because I'm wondering how they're do this, because basically, so here's one thing I do know about the homeowner. I'm curious I'm sure you folks deal with this as well. So one thing I know with the homeowner, don't ask me why, because it's just a couple, two people, and they're tearing down a perfectly good house. They want this gigantic house, like over 4,000 square foot. They're going to maximize the entire lot in Willow Glen. And they basically, if you look at the drawings, the plans, there's no room for mechanicals. There's no room for anything. Like literally they want to leverage every square foot for like living space. So I'm like, you don't even have a place to put, like, I don't see space for anything but bedrooms, bathrooms, multiple game rooms. Like, so I'm looking at this. I'm like, I know the homeowner wants to maximize space. Don't ask me why. And I'm like, so I could tell he probably forced the designer, the architect, to like use every square footage of that lot for living space. And it's just deplete of anything typically you would see in a house, especially of that size. You're going to have room for ducting and for HVAC and all the different things you need for infrastructure, and there's just zero. And I'm like, did somebody just do this in Visio for you and you paid them a whole bunch of money? Like, I like what, like this is a floor plan to me.
Sounds like a flip to me. They're just trying to maximize square footage to maximize the price.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you, this is my last word on it. It'll be interesting when I have the call with them today, because I'm going to kind of judge their sentiment, because I know he works at Netflix, and I'm sure you all heard about Netflix's stock took a humongous crash. So I'm wondering if he's going to pull back his plans based on the Netflix stock crash, because I know a lot of his money is in the Netflix stock. So I'm curious to see, like, hey, are you rethinking the square footage of this house based on the stock market? Because I know that Netflix is took a huge dip in the last month.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Because so anyway, thanks for the help.
Yeah, no problem. That's what this is. That's what the discussions every other month are really all about. It's helping each other out and feeling better about your own problems when you hear someone else has misery, right? Misery loves company.
Yeah, I've been struggling. I've been losing sleep over this one for longer than I like to admit. So I appreciate I can put this to bed and feel good about this. And yeah, thank you for helping me move on. So yeah, it's closure.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of clients. Like, okay, so I have a very specific process that I work with my clients from start to the end of construction, right? I'm there the whole way through. I'm describing this to people when, I'm on the call with them for the first time. This is our process, and then after hearing all the process or something like that, they may say, well, all I really want is for you to draw up a set of plans. And it's like, go find somebody else, because my process is my process. And if you don't want to work in that process that has been proven to have, positive results, successful projects, I'm not going any other way. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was literally my call this morning with a prospect that I later turned into a customer. I signed it, but like sort of regretting it. So the point is, I basically created this deck, only two slides. I told him I only have 2 slides to talk about process because it's clear you don't understand the process, right? Design, build. So I went over. I swear, I only talked like for maybe 3 to 5 minutes max, 2 slides. And when I was done, he just bashed me and said, hey, you don't need to explain to me all your process. Like, you wasted all this time telling me about your process. Like, I understand the process. I'm like, well, clearly you don't understand the process because you're asking questions. I mean, I didn't say this to him, but clearly you're asking questions that like underscores you don't understand any bit of the process. So I think this is helpful. We scheduled this meeting. I only had 2 slides. It was less than 5 minutes. Like, did I really kill your day and your time by like explaining to you the design build process and how we do our contracts and at what time you get to know about the final price and all these different assumptions that we have to go through? It was so painful. And I was at that point where I was like, I just want to get off the call and tell him we're not a good match.
Right.
And that's all I've been wanting to do for the last couple of weeks. And ironically, we worked through it together. I got to learn his style a little bit better. He got to learn my style. I'm a very process-driven person because I come from engineering. So I'm a very process-driven person. And it's very important to me, like you said, Jennifer, like it's part of our value that we add. But he, so anyway, long story short, like I was able to convince him and that, this is our process and this is the value that you get out of it. And he was ultimately comfortable for it. And I kind of learned, I think we learned how to talk to each other, which I think is part of the, having these things as well. But initially it was very rough because I prepped the 2 slides. I went over my little spiel and he just like, literally was very rude. It's like, you don't need to waste your time with telling me about how stuff works in the process. Like, I just want you to answer my questions. And the questions were exactly the questions you said. He literally, his quote since day one is like, the room is ready. I just want you to build the theater. Like, the room is already ready. You just need to come in and build it. Like, you don't need to do anything with the right. You need to do those construction and planning and design and all this stuff. The room is ready. You just need to come build. Like, why can't you just come and put it in? Like, so I created the slides to tell him about our design process and how we build it. And he's just like, look, you could just answer the questions. You don't need to give me this whole process thing. I'm like, I should just hang up the Zoom right now. I wish Zoom had a hang up button so you could just like slam the phone.
And it makes a slam sound.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to do, but instead I ended up signing the contract with the family, which I think it will be a good project in the end. I think we're learning each other and we'll learn how to work together. But I guess my point is you can recover, and because I didn't want to do the project, but after this morning I said, you know what? Maybe this is, that phase where you're kind of like storming, forming, type of thing. And I think we're figuring it out. But yes, I get that a lot. Why can't you just come do it? I don't need all this thought and effort to put in. You just need to come install. And I said, you know what? Our value add is our design and the thought we put into. If you just need somebody to come hook stuff up and install, we're definitely not that person for you. We don't, because I've had design build people the same thing. I said, oh, can you just come and subcontract and put this in? And they're like, no, we have a staff of interior designers and all these people. We don't make any money as a business by just putting up stuff. And I'm like, I get it, because we're the same way. We don't make any money. It's not enjoyable work. If there's no value, we don't add any value just hooking stuff up. So we don't do it. But yes, we still get people who call us every day, like Best Buy, can you just come hook this? I'm like, it was going to be super expensive for us to do that for you. Like,
yeah.
Thanks for calling.
Somebody found a picture in Europe in an architecture firm. I think it was an architecture firm, and it's a meme that's been going around. And it has a list of what all their prices are. And it starts with, we design everything, and that's the cheapest price. And it goes down the list to, you design, we watch, and that was the most expensive price.
Yeah.
I love it. We watch. Yeah, because I with the popcorn. Yeah, I'll bring my own popcorn, and I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah. So that's a good one. Lashmi, How are you?
Not too bad. What's going on? I was gonna say that lately I'm finding that interior design is becoming, more and more. What should I say? I mean, it was always present, but I'm seeing it more as a requirement. And very often, people don't want to hire an interior designer specifically and expect us to be able to, give them leads for finishes and all of those things. So how much of that are any of you doing, and how do you source new materials, or how do you navigate the world of interiors as an architect?
Well, I can tell you what I do.
Okay.
You have anything you want to? Well, so I ask clients right up front, like on the first call, who's going to pick these items? Do you want to pick these items? You have options. Your options pretty much are, you can hire me to make all the selections. You can hire a third-party interior designer, for which I have referrals so that there's someone that I know I can work with. Or if the contractor, because several contractors I work with have interior design in-house, or you can use the in-house designers with the general contractor. But all of these things, all of these decisions do need to be made prior to construction starting. So don't think you're going to be making these decisions, even if you hire the contractor to do it, like while construction's going on. So after I've had that conversation with them, if they've decided that, well, we want you to handle everything, for me, it's a separate package. So I include it in my, general contract and proposal, but I make it its own thing. And so, not too long ago, I did a $1 million interior design project. Like, we moved literally like 2 walls in the whole project. Nothing was structural. So I did all of the beam calculations. And we were upgrading mechanical, electrical, plumbing. So I did all of that as well. But I also did all the selections for the tile and the fixtures and all of that, and have schedules for that, and interior elevations and all of those drawings and everything. So I think it's what it boils down to is just, do you want to do it? And if you want to do it, then you need to have a way of pricing your fees for that.
Yeah, I guess my question was more about, where are you making your choices and selections from? And like, other than the usual suspects of going down to Porcelanosa, have you guys been looking at other things that you'll have found interesting, or any I guess more about selection is what my question was intended for.
A few years ago, I went to, okay, this is kind of a little funny story. At an AIA convention, I put in my name into some contest, and then found out I won a full trip to Las Vegas to go to the international surface event. Surface meaning all the interior finishes, and a lot of them were especially flooring and wall coverings, right? And so I'm like, well, hell, I just want a trip to Las Vegas. I don't know what this, this convention is all about, and this trade show thing, but I'm going to Vegas because they're paying for it. So I went, and it was very enlightening to learn about when I, just going through the main hall. I mean, it was as big as an AIA convention hall, but it's all just surfaces. And, so basically what like your Tile Fantastic, or, those other companies that are providing them, this is where they source it. And so I was able to feel a lot of products and, meet a lot of people. And after that, I had a good source of products that I had already tested out, felt comfortable about them, had a rep, right? And then would start using basically their websites to find those products. Another good place is something called Materials Bank. Check it out, because Materials Bank has—
Is that a website, or what is it?
The website.
It's a website. Okay.
And you do have
Okay.
to sign up to become an architect member. Once you qualify that you are an architect, then you're in their system, and you just go through the website and just look at all the different products, and then you can order samples. You don't have to pay for the samples for most of them. Most of them are free samples. And when they send it to you, it's gorgeous. It's like an unboxing event. In fact, I think there are unboxings on YouTube. And so it's all organized in like palettes and everything, you know, color palettes you can take to your client so they can see all the products. They mix, you know, put them all together if you want to, room by room. But the best part about it is when you're done with those products, they have, the box is returnable to them. So all of the products you can put back in the box and you can send it right back to them. So, you know,
that's
I only
cool.
have this one room to
Yeah,
store
how much
stuff.
do we collect? Yeah, exactly.
Right. I don't want to keep collecting the same thing. And a lot of products, especially tile, right? It changes so often. You're not going to want to.
Mhm.
I mean, I have tile from Tiles Fantastic that I was never able to return, just like strewn all over my backyard.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
They make great potted plant.
Holders.
Coasters,
Base.
a lot of coasters. They're great for coasters.
Exactly.
I have all these tile I use for coasters all over.
Thank you for that material bank. I'll look it up. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
more and more, I feel
Good
like
one.
I'm getting these interior design questions, and I'm expected to have some expertise on that, even if, you know, it doesn't have to be everything. And I don't feel like I understand color and materials, but I still feel like I don't think I have the expertise, but now I have no choice but to be the expert. So it's like, okay, I might as well just learn about it and have that, kind of like what Fernando is saying, you know, just have that ability, because you never know what they're going to ask you when.
Right.
Yeah, it's always something. But thank you for Materials Bank. I haven't heard of that one actually. I may sign up if they let me. Because
Might get some new materials for your theaters.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to be an interior designer, but like you said, if it's just to like help in the bidding, or if it's to help like close the deal, or even just to kind of get them thinking, I think it's helpful. That's probably how I would use it, because I've used like renderings before to actually like sign contracts. If they get like a design concept with a picture, like seeing the materials and stuff, I think helps that as well. I don't want to be the interior designer on my projects, but I think this helps when customers, in my opinion, when they say, well, we can do it ourselves. And then they realize when you show them the samples, oh, there's so much to think about. Like I've been remodeling a very tiny bathroom for a year with a designer, and it's amazing. I thought, oh, maybe we could do this ourselves. But when I see all the different aspects that have to be thought about, it's totally overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, for a tiny little bathroom, all the different finishes. Because but you know what she did is she would basically ship us these boxes like every couples of weeks, because she's in San Francisco and I'm in the mountains. So she would basically ship boxes like this, and we would unpack them, my girlfriend and I, and it was overwhelming just to put them on the floor and organize them to see what we're doing. So I think this actually helps. I'm looking at it right now. I like the little box. I think it's cool. So
yeah.
This is very good.
Yeah, I think when you're new too, they send you a bag of M&Ms.
Oh, hey, I do.
At least they sent me a bag of M&Ms, and I'm like, wow, there's M&Ms in here. It had their logo on it.
That's good marketing. Well, I do work for snacks and food, and that's a way to my heart is through snacks. So they already know how to reach me.
Right, swag is always good. So anyway, that's kind of what I do. Chuck, do you do much interior design at all, or do you send it all out?
I usually work with my clients to help them select things. Most of my clients like to be involved. I've used interior designers on 2 different projects. One was an ADU, and the other one was a very large house up in Los Altos Hills. But for the most part, I usually just help my clients do it.
Yeah.
Shopping with them. You know.
I'm helping my clients do it more and more now because, God damn it, I want things that I can photograph.
Thank you. Somebody finally said it. Yes. I hate projects that I'm like, I'm not going to be able to photograph any of this because the husband or the wife did the interior design and it's just not our style, and it's not photo finish quality. And I'm like, oh, here's another one. Like, cool. I would even give discounts to people like, you know what, I'm going to make an investment here, and because it's going to be a great photo house and you're going to get a really great deal because then you don't even know it.
Right. Yeah. I literally had a project once where I came in and the backsplash was teal and maroon. And I was just like, are you kidding me? So, and I've had other clients like paint their house and I'm sitting here going, okay, so maybe I should do black and white photos if I put it on the website, or is anybody going to catch me if I change the color of the house? Maybe the clients might get pissed. Oh no, if they see my website and then see I change the color of their house. Yeah, I think black and white's the way to go.
I have no shame. I have Photoshop stuff. I have changed finishes on walls and exterior. There's one that was so ugly. It was in San Francisco. It was like this horrible wall. We did an intercom system and it was just dirty and ugly. And I put a nice wood veneer pattern around it, like it was like that expensive teak or whatever wood that you see in San Francisco. I photoshopped it in. It looks great. Like you would have never known unless you saw the actual house. I have no shame. But I don't want to do that because that takes too much time. But I would rather just get the projects that you just have the photographer go before they move in their personal items, which is another issue.
Right. That's a whole other issue is when they move back in and then you'll never be able to take a photograph again.
Or you don't want to photograph what they have, what they moved in with, like I've had a customer that I waited too long and they actually put I've never seen them before. There's cat stairs. So their shelves that goes in like a stair fashion that has carpet on them. So it's like a wall, it's like wall art / cat toy that goes up the wall. And I'm like, that's not going to work in a theater. Like that's not going to work in a picture. Nobody even understand that. So I was like, well, I missed my opportunity to take a picture of that room. I don't have any pictures.
I've had a lot of that happen because of the pandemic, but yeah, I often find that clients, like they spend all their money on this house, right? And then they move in their old furniture.
Yep.
Like,
breaks my heart.
Are you doing? Did you not plan for a furniture budget?
Nope, they never do. I have customers who get the furniture on their own even, and then make it up. And after we leave, and I get the pictures before, even when it's a mess. Sometimes they paint it a different color after we leave, and it's just. So not all projects are ideal projects, but the customers are always happy, and that's at the end of the day, that's what matters. Even though sometimes you can't get anything to show for it really, other than happy customers.
Yeah.
They love it, but I'm just like, I can't wait to get out of here.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take off.
Oh yeah, it's after 1.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, this was great. Next month, Haven and Wire will be our presenters, or sponsor presenter. We'll be doing that integrated lighting that we had planned to do last month. So be sure to sign up ahead of time because it will get canceled if there's not enough signups. And we've already canceled on them once, so can't cancel on them again.
Yep. Jason is awesome. He's a certified instructor with CEDIA. We've done these before. The lighting one is a little bit more intense, but he's really great. He can talk about some things from the field as long as, as well as the regular content. So we love doing these with Jason, and I think this one will be pretty fun. And lighting is something that I think we all deal with on projects no matter what we're doing. And I know I could get better at it. So I'm looking forward to learning some new things as well. So it'll be good.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the lighting convention in June down in Las Vegas.
Oh, nice.
I've never been to that one before. I've been to International Building Show, which is very helpful. There's a lot of finishes and lighting and everything there. But I've never been to the lighting one. So I thought I'd go this year just to see what I can learn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, and then I'm crossing my fingers that maybe the July meeting will be able to do an in-person hangout meeting with a subject matter.
Nice. And snacks. M&Ms at least.
If
you want me to be in charge of that, I will just do it selfishly so I can have my own snacks. But if you need somebody to bring snacks, please put me in charge of that.
We'll keep that in mind. Sounds good.
After July 4th, so that everybody's back in case they're traveling.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yep.
Because I know we typically tend to have it at the start of the month.
Yeah, it's the first Thursday usually. And what is the first Thursday in July?
7th,
Yeah. So it should be on the 7th.
I might be traveling, but okay.
All right. See you all.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
See you later.
Take care.